Alright, so today we're going to talk about some loss comms for VFR pilots and go through the scenarios, how to solve issues, what to look for, where you're possible, where you're able to go if you're in the air already, and light gun signals, which we'll do a graphic on that and go through some of the flows and stuff like that. Alright, so the first things that we need to do, let's start off with a scenario, right? So what's going to be one of the scenarios that you're going to get lost comms? Alright, start with the easiest ones. So you know you have lost comms. Either it happened before on a different flight and now you know you have lost comms and you took it to a mechanic and the mechanic can't take care of avionics or can't take care of the systems for the radios and you need to take it somewhere else, or you're just doing a pre-flight and you're taxiing and you can't get anybody on the radios. Then you do a mic check, you ask to see, make a call, checking mic, checking volume, stuff like that, and you don't hear anything back. If you're trying to get a hold of ground, departure, stuff like that, the tower, if you can't get a hold of anybody, you're still on the ground, everything's okay. Obviously it's going to be inconvenient, but on the ground that you don't have your comm systems. So what can you do, right? Can you fly? Can you not fly? You'd still fly, okay? It depends on where you are, right? If you're in controlled or if you're uncontrolled, or where you're going to be going. If you're going to be going to uncontrolled or through controlled or into controlled airspaces. So you can go ahead and call either through flight service or get the phone number for the tower and give them your situation, tell them your locations and your times of departure, an estimated time of arrival. You're going to want to make sure you're very accurate with those numbers and give them a heads up, and then they'll tell you, or they'll verify that those times are okay. They'll clear the space and you'll be able to do your flight into controlled airspace, so you can either get the work done or just make it to your next destination. So that's an ideal situation, right? Well, not ideal, but it's better. The bad scenario is if you're in the air, your comms went out. What are your options then, right? So you're going to want to actually go through a flow. You're going to want to think through it. As long as you're not crunched for time, and you've got a minute in cruise to go through your systems, check everything, check your frequencies, and look for those options, right? So we're going to use the decide model. It's a really good one. It's easy to remember, and what it does is circles back, and you can go through multiple scenarios and possible solutions using this system, right? So you want to be able to detect the problem, okay? So if you're in the air, you detect it by whatever means, right? You're making a call, trying to respond, nobody can hear you, or you totally lose comms, everything goes static, and you're totally in the blind, as they call it, right? In the blind. That's important later. All right. Then you need to be able to estimate, depending on the severity of your situation, your needed reaction to the problem, right? Like I said before, controlled, uncontrolled scenarios, if you need your comms, if you don't need your comms. So that's what that's for. Then you're going to go ahead and choose a course of action to rectify the problem, right? So you can go back on frequencies, you can check to make sure that's the right frequency that you tuned in if you switched one. So you just want to double check all that. You want to double check your systems in the airplane, right? You want to go through all that stuff. and you want to identify possible solutions and make a list. I would write them down, because you're going to want to go through them. You're not going to want to forget them, and you want to be as efficient as possible, right? And then you're going to have to go ahead and take those necessary actions to rectify the problem using your possible solutions, and going through the steps. And at the end, you're going to evaluate the outcome, the expected outcome, right? And like I said, you're going to have multiple solutions, and you're going to have multiple necessary actions to take, processes that you can do in the cockpit, which we'll talk about in a minute, and then get to that expected outcome, right? You're going to do one at a time, boom, worked, didn't work, and then rate back up, okay? Same problem, skip that one. Need a reaction, am I getting closer? How much time did that just take? How many times, how much time do I have to get through all these solutions? And then again, course of action, solution, necessary action, and evaluate. If it fixes it, good. If you're out of time, and you can kind of head out and circle in an area and try to do it. If you have enough fuel, if everything's fine like that, then you can go ahead and try to do every possible scenario to rectify the problem, to make sure it's a nice, easy, safe landing. Okay. So things that you can look at. So let's go over that again, because this is important. So you can easily dial in the wrong frequency, right? So if you do that, you just double check, right? Write it down when somebody gives it to you, if it's for a CTAF, for Unicom, for a tower, for approach. You want to get all those double checked, right? And if for some reason that doesn't happen and they just handed you to another controlling agency, then go back. Go back to the one that did work, that you were on, talking to somebody, and check with them. Is my radio okay? Can you hear me loud and clear? And then verify that frequency again. Another thing is you check circuit breakers, right? Check your systems. Make sure your systems are operating. If nav 1 doesn't, or com 1 doesn't want to work, try com 2. Go through as many options as you can and all the systems in your cockpit before you have to add load to a controlling agency to help you try to rectify it, or just to try to solve it. Basically, that's our job, right? Try to solve problems in the air using stuff that we know. And then it could be a stuck mic, right? Could be the button stuck down, or it's not going down all the way. You can check into that. Check anything in the cockpit that you can think of, right? Those are the main ones. User error is usually the problem. Getting the wrong one, I've done that before. So that one's not a big deal. Easy to rectify. Get on the right frequency. Continue, right? So if you can't rectify the problem, okay? You're up in the air, headed to your destination, and now you have no comms. So now what are you going to do, right? You're going to use your transponder, right? 7600. Lost comms. All right, specifically just for that. Now myself, I would ident. I'd hit the ident button on that one, let everybody know, but I'm pretty sure that when you pop it in there, it's going to be noticeable. They probably have systems that tell anybody that 7600 has been punched in. Right, so you're going to go ahead and take care of that. The other thing that you're going to do is try to remain in visual meteorologic conditions. Right, so you need to fly. VFR obviously this is for VFR pilots, but this goes for IFR pilots as well. You want to be able to maintain VFR. Why? Well, because you're not talking to anybody. Nobody can give you directions on how to be vectored out of traffic, out of the way of traffic, stuff like that. You can't see. You might have systems that you can see traffic, but the rule is stay VFR until your destination. So what if you wanted to get into controlled airspace, right? So let's say you're doing all this, you're squawking, you're staying VFR, but you need to go into a delta, right? You're coming into delta. What are you supposed to do? Well, what you're supposed to do is stay outside of delta and either circle, you can circle the whole thing if you want to, and look for traffic. You're going to try to find traffic pattern at the runways and for like on signals, because you're going to be out here squawking 7600. Okay? So they know you're out there, they see you circling, they see you outside the airspace on purpose. It's going to be very easy to notify. And once you see traffic, and you know traffic and you've got space, you can go in and look for those light gun signals if you haven't seen them already. Okay? So that's how you get into controlled airspace if you have to. Okay? So then what do we do once we get to those light gun signals? Well, this is where I struggled. I tried to just memorize them all, but it didn't help. So I found a visual aid. Like a lot of things, kind of makes it easier. So we're going to put our taxiway down here. We're going to put our runway, right? All the scenarios, places we could be, right? We're going to put our tower in here. Okay, whatever. And then we're going to have in the blind, let me just skip to that real quick. In the blind is you want to continue making radio calls, right? If you're going into controlled, if you're not going into controlled, you want to continue to make radio calls using in the blind, right? Tail number, in the blind, left downwind for, whatever runway. Make every single call using in the blind, squawking 7600, stay in VFR, and always looking for light gun signals if it's possible. All right. So you've made it in, and you're starting to get light gun signals for, you'll see different scenarios, right? So let's just start. Put a couple on the taxiway. All right. A couple here. We're gonna put one off that way. One going this way. We've got 5 in the air as well. So let's just go ahead and get a bunch here. We've got one directly overhead. These are all airplanes if you can't tell. Okay. So the reason why I like this is because, like I said, it helps me visualize scenarios. It lets me see patterns. It lets me see, break it up a little bit easier. So one of the benefits to doing it this way is that everything on this side is green, right? Even down the middle. And then everything on this side is red. Okay? And then we've got a specific scenario, just both of them, in the middle. Okay? So let's just start with red. So if you're getting red from the tower and you're on the ground, right? You're on the ground. It could be on the runway or on the taxiway, but this one is just going to denote that you stop. Okay? Solid red is stop. Okay? Then, flashing red on the runway means, flashing, right? Getting your attention means clear the runway for traffic. Or for whatever reason they want to get you off the runway. but that's usually what it's denoted as. Okay. Then you get flashing. So you come in, you come in. It's Class D or squawk and all that good stuff. You finally make it in. You check the pattern, and now you get flashing red. Right? Flashing red is not what you want. Right? This means airport is unsafe, and you need to exit the airspace. Okay? That was not good, right? So you have to leave this whole airport and go to another one. Hopefully you got fuel for that. If not, you can assess what kind of emergency you're in. If you get solid in the sky, this is one you might get, right? This means go ahead and circle above the airport and wait for further instructions. That might be a common one that you get. I haven't gotten any on signals, but I could see a scenario where that's an easy one, right? Where you're going to circle, you're going to go plus 1,000, right? At least 1,000 feet above traffic pattern altitude. Okay. Now it switches. So once you get down the middle, and you get red, green, red, green, red, green, it keeps flashing red, green, this means that you should exercise extreme caution. Okay? Now, I'm not sure. The scenario in this one, maybe just have to get down, you run out of fuel, and they're just telling you, hey, be extremely cautious. I'm not sure, because this is a way to talk to tower, so they're just saying exercise extreme caution. Maybe it's because of traffic, but if they're talking to traffic, why would you need extreme caution? That one I'm not too sure about. All right, so now we switch to green. All right, so flashing green, right? Flashing, get your attention. Flashing green denotes you'd be in this hold or circling, right? This means return from circling and continue on to an approach, right? This marker's running out. So that's return for approach. All right, then green obviously is good, right? So you're going to get return, come on in. This one's going to be clear to land. Okay, right? So you're going to get solid red, go up and hold, then you're going to get flashing green, return, shoot for an approach, and then you're going to get solid green, clear to land. If you're already on the runway, you just taxi out to the runway. Get solid, right? These are all cleared to take off. Okay? Now, if you're on the taxiway, get your attention, right? Flash, you've been sitting there. And a way to, like I said before, you can call tower and tell them the situation, but you can also flash your lights, try to get their attention, and they might notice that you're squawking 7600 and then start, communicating that way. I don't know why you wouldn't call them if you knew already, but for some reason, okay? The other reason, or another thing is, once you're up in the air, if your initial contact through light gun signals in the air, you're going to want to tell them that that you're receiving these light guns, that they have to physically point it at you, and they're hoping that it works, it's bright enough and everything else. It should be charged, but you're going to rock your wings, or you're going to flash your landing lights. If you're coming in on final, if for some reason you're pointed, or they're going to be able to see the front of your aircraft. Flash your lights, rock your wings, anything that denotes, hey, loud and clear, gotcha. We're on the same page, right? So this one's clear to taxi, right, from your you know, point of origin or wherever you're at, if you're on the FBO or the hangers or something. All right, so now this, I don't have a white marker obviously on a whiteboard, but we're gonna use black for this. But just imagine the lines in between, I guess. If you get flashing white on the taxiway, you could probably get it on the runway too. Anywhere, probably on the airport. This one's a return to your start point, right? You're gonna return to probably wherever you are over here in this scenario, before you got the flash, you know, you're cleared for taxi. Okay, so it looks busy, but once you get this down and you draw it a couple times, it makes so much sense. You can come up with scenarios, you can see the scenarios on the board. It splits everything in half, you know, and then it does, you know, everything in the air. It shows you there's 5 in the sky and 5 on the ground, because you get this white one. Okay, so that's one of the best reasons to do it that way. Let's see if anything else I can think of. I think I covered everything. All right, good luck, and hopefully you'll never need it. Thanks.